This episode may contain content that could be distressing or objectionable to certain listeners. Please refer to the episode show notes for details. Discretion is advised. Hello! Welcome to Your Movie, My Movie with Dan and Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Steve. This is a podcast where one of us picks a movie to watch and we discuss it together. In this episode, we'll be talking about one of Dan's picks, the 2007 movie Secret Sunshine, starring Hold on.
You're good.
No. Goddamn autocorrect. Starring Jean Do Yeon. Okay. In this episode, we'll be talking about one of Dan's picks, the 2007 movie Secret Sunshine, starring Jeon Do-yeon and Song Kang-Ho, written by Lee Chang-dong, based on the short story The Abject by Lee Chang-dong and directed by Lee Chang-dong. We will be talking about spoilers, so if you want to watch the movie first, now's the time to do so. But before we talk about the movie, Dan, who would you recommend this movie to?
Great question, Steve. I would recommend this movie to fans of movies that feel like novels, people who are angry at God, and all of my mentally unstable homies out there. Shout out to all the crazy bitches.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. That fits.
Hey, Steven.
Yes.
Who would you recommend this movie to?
Well, Daniel, I would recommend this movie to the people who know the Philip K. Dick quote. It is sometimes an appropriate response to reality to go insane.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. You know, there's a little tip when it comes to screenwriting.
Uh-huh.
They tell you to torture your characters.
Yeah.
And God damn it, they do it in this movie.
They do it very proficiently.
Uh-huh. God damn it. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
This is the greatest Christmas movie ever.
So, Dan,
yeah.
Why did you pick this movie?
I don't know.
Okay.
I picked it because it's one of my favorite movies ever.
Okay.
That's really the reason I picked it. Mm-hmm. And because we just watched Snowpiercer recently, which has, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, which has
Song Kang-ho.
Song Kang-ho, yes. Yeah. And again, I'm sorry for butchering names.
That's okay.
It's going to happen, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's going to happen by both of us.
But, yeah. Mm-hmm. And because this movie is on my list to show you, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, this movie also has a lot to do with religion.
Yes.
You just watched
Life of Brian.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you said that I could, because I was trying to think of a Christmas movie, and I couldn't think of a Christmas movie that I wanted to watch and show you. But you said we have like
very loose
guidelines
for the holiday
picking holiday movie. Yeah. And you said that, you could pick a movie that has to do with religion. So I was like, okay, well, I know one of those movies.
Yes. Yes, you do, goddammit. Yes, you do.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why I picked the movie in the shorter sense, but a reason I love this movie, again, is because it feels like a novel to me. It feels, I use this word a lot, but transcendent, or at least trying to be. it tries to be, art. And I think,
Mhm.
obviously it is art, but, that's my favorite type of movie. The movies that are trying to get at something that is hard to put into just words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I think art means to me. One of the best definitions for it is trying to express something that is not easily said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a reel on Instagram of Ethan Hawke, and he kind of gives, what he thinks of art and why it's important. And he's like, yeah, someday you're going to have a loved one who dies, or you're going to be a father for the first time, and you're going to have all these feelings. And what art does is, basically art allows you to relate and process all those feelings that you have, that other people have too.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie does that a lot.
Yeah.
It certainly does that a lot.
I think, art helps us operate as humans and helps us relate as humans and, function. Cope, I guess is a good word too.
Roger Ebert said that the reason why he loves cinema is because they're basically empathy machines.
Mm-hmm.
They allow us to empathize, with each other and, other people, who, find out where we have things in common, and then help us understand those things that we don't have in common too. So, yeah.
So,
where do you want to start with this bummer of a movie, Dan?
It is a big bummer. Well, I will talk a tiny bit about the director.
Okay.
I don't know a lot about him.
Okay.
But his name is Lee Chang-dong.
Okay. You said that much better than I did.
I bullshitted it, so, I don't know if that's...
I got my southern twang to me, too. That's
Lee Chang-dong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was probably racist or something, but...
it's not if I say it, because I am southern. So.
Well, I was raised in Texas. I can say it.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Anyways. He was a novelist before he was a director.
Okay. But he didn't write the short story, though.
Apparently not, no.
Yeah.
But he wrote some novels.
Okay.
And he's directed 7 films. I've only seen 2 of them, but they're all on my list to watch. Okay, 7 films, but one of them is a short film.
Okay.
Yeah. I really like this director. I think he's one of our best living, honestly. One of my favorite living, I'll say that.
Okay.
And I don't think he gets enough credit. I don't think he gets recognized enough as a good director, especially in America. I think he's pretty famous in South Korea. But yeah, I just think more people need to see this movie and his other movies.
So, which well-known Western director would you equate his style to?
Huh. That's a hard one.
Okay.
Because the pacing of this movie is doesn't feel American at all.
It's only slightly faster paced than George Washington is.
I was going to ask, how does it compare on the George Washington scale?
It's funny because I asked you if there was a child death and right before it happened.
And I said, not on screen.
Yes, and that was truthful. And then it was at that point that I realized, and you told me from the beginning that, this movie does not have a happy ending. And then I asked if the child dies, and then you gave me that answer. And then I'm like, okay, this is going to be one of those movies where nothing good happens, isn't it? That's what I asked myself. And then I watched it, and I was like, yeah, it's one of those movies where nothing good happens. So,
well,
but nothing bad happens, but it's like the worst things you can imagine doesn't happen. It's not what I believe like Requiem for a Dream is, which I refuse to watch because it's so drastic in its, nihilism towards the characters. So I don't think it's that bad. It's watchable. It's a bummer. But it's not gonna make you like. But it's not enough of a bummer to like
throw you into a terrible mental state.
Yeah. Put you in a tailspin.
Yeah.
In a mental tailspin. It's not that bad. So that's good. Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah.
I guess.
And there's kind of hope at the end. There's
some, I would say. But yeah, this director also has one that kind of broke out a little more, which was his most recent feature-length film, Burning, which you've heard about, and we've talked about a little bit. I talked about it a little bit on maybe the Snowpiercer episode. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think the only scene that I watched, if it's the same movie, is the scene where it's like a young woman, and like two guys.
Yeah.
And then she takes her clothes off at dawn, and she's like smoking, or sunset, and she's like smoking a cigarette or something.
Yeah,
dancing around. Yeah, that's all I saw.
Yeah,
and it was because of an assignment for directing class in film school.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What assignment was it?
It was we. Hold on, what was it? I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah. But it might have been the one with. That we did the short film for you and LJ. We had to pick a scene,
okay,
and like do something from that, or I don't know. This is all getting cut because nobody else but you're thankful for that.
That's fine.
Okay, we're moving on.
But anyways, yeah, that's from that movie. And I think there's a few scenes or shots that were circulating on Tumblr for a while. That make that movie a little more, and also that movie had Steven Yeun in it, who was an American actor, so it helped it cross over a little bit.
Wait, was he in the Wolverine and in Tokyo Drift?
Steven Yeun? No. He was in Walking Dead.
Okay.
And Nope.
Okay.
And I don't know how much you've seen of him. More indie movies. He was in Sorry to Bother You. Have you seen that one?
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh, we're probably gonna have to make you watch that one. Anyways.
Okay.
He's a great actor. And he's very popular at the moment for good reason.
Okay.
He was just in a Netflix miniseries called Beef. Anyways, he's popular at the moment, and again, for good reason. I think he's a really talented actor. Anyways, but that's Burning, which I'll also probably make you watch.
Okay.
Yeah. I just like this director. I think, and forgive me if this is, I don't know, strange, but I think he is comparable to Edward Yang, who's a Taiwanese filmmaker. Just in the fact that they both make movies that feel like novels to me. You
and Alice keep trying to get me to watch
Edward
Yang
movies. Yeah. Alice showed me Edward Yang. I really like the movies that I've seen of his. What was I gonna say?
He's comparable to Edward Yang.
Oh yeah, this movie also really, like kind of feels like No Country for Old Men in a weird way.
Well, I can see that. It's not the slowest paced movie. Like it moves along, but it takes its time. But even though it's like so slow paced, it doesn't belabor any scenes. The scenes take as long as they need to take to get the point across.
Yes.
And yeah, I think in a lot of ways that's, it's like old, No Country for Old Men in that way. And also it's very nihilistic in the same way too, if not as violent, or at least, on-screen violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's start just talking about it, I guess.
Okay.
Our main character is Shinae.
Yeah, Shanae.
Or some characters call her
June Piano.
Yes, June Piano.
I guess that's the name of the little piano school, piano lesson school that she started.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Probably.
Yeah.
And
I kind of want to blow through the plot.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, and what happens is she has a little boy, June, and they're moving from Seoul, the capital of South Korea, to a smaller city called Miryang.
Mm-hmm.
And she says Miryang is Chinese for secret sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Her car has a problem, and that's when she meets Jong Chan, played by Song Kang-Ho, who's a mechanic. And then she gets to the city, and we find out that her husband died in an auto accident, but he probably cheated on her before he died.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came here to start a new life for herself. And then Jong Chan, he likes Shinae.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically simps for her throughout the movie.
yeah. He's one of the greatest simps of all cinema history. But he's so lovable.
Real quick,
Go for it. Yeah.
You know whose character I was thinking of while I was watching him? Paul Schneider's from George Washington.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Could you imagine how great a movie would be if it was just those two characters like together in the city somewhere?
That would be a great movie.
Paul Schneider, driving around on his little motorcycle, fucking black chicks, while, Jong Chan, keeps trying.
What the hell?
And, tries to string them along, but, just gets dragged by them. Would that be a great movie?
I'm just imagining Paul Schneider just driving little kids around on his bike like he does in the movie.
Well, does he drive little kids around?
Well, yeah, I think he does a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I think he drives George Washington a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just thinking about that one scene where he, told around, and then the other scene where he's at the park with a black chick.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I would love that movie, by the way. I would love that movie, by the way. What is it? Paul. He's the director of George Washington.
Oh, it's oh my goodness. It is. He's the same director as Pineapple Express.
Something in Your Ass?
No, that's a different director.
Oh.
He did some of the Bourne movies.
Oh.
Sorry, I can't think of his name. David Gordon Green.
Oh, David Gordon Green. Yeah, David Gordon Green. And the director of this movie, Lee Chang-dong, they should totally, collaborate to do like one movie that's a sequel to both of theirs.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That says about those characters.
Yeah.
I think that's
You have such an 80s brain sometimes.
What do you mean?
like a crossover.
Yeah.
It's just like anyways.
Well, that's also my comic book sensibilities. But I mean, hey,
That's
true. Paul Schneider, Song Kang-Ho,
just
together, they try to fuck, That'd be a great movie. He could ask, Paul Schneider could ask him, hey, is your urine clear? And then Song Kang-Ho, he just smokes a cigarette.
Can we talk about the movie?
Hey, this movie put me through the ringer, okay? I gotta liven it up a bit, okay? Okay?
Okay, all right, go for it.
I'm just saying.
I don't think that either of them should direct it. I think that Wim Wenders, who directed Paris, Texas, I think he should direct it.
No, because one of them's gonna commit a horrible assault against a woman.
Oh my god!
They're gonna be sad about it, and then by the end of it, they're gonna get back together.
No, that's just because Sam Shepard wrote it. I want to show you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I want to show you Alice in the Cities, directed by Wim Wenders.
Okay.
And then you'll.
Is that more lighthearted?
It's more lighthearted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot more innocent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
God damn it. Okay. So there's a teacher, there's June's teacher that we get introduced to. And what happens is Shanae wants to buy a plot of land so she can build a house. And everybody around town knows about that.
Yes.
And so one night she goes out drinking with some other women in town, her friends. They go karaoke.
I think that's a different. Okay. Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. And Shanae doesn't have anybody else, so June is basically a latchkey kid.
Yes.
That night, where he has to stay home alone while the mom goes out. And June calls her, and Shanae tells him to be a man and go to sleep.
Yeah, she's drunk.
Yeah, she is drunk at this point. And so before, what's really good about this movie is there's lots of setups.
There's lots of setup, yeah,
to everything that happens later. So before, Shanae and June were going to go out. And then Shanae couldn't find June in the house, so she goes outside to their back, their backyard basically, and starts crying. And then June comes out of hiding, and they have a laugh about it.
Yeah.
But when Shanae gets home from drinking that night, she looks around the house to look for June, and he doesn't answer her, and he's not there. And then she gets a phone call. And basically, we find out that somebody has kidnapped June and is holding him for ransom for the money that she was going to use to buy the plot of land.
Yes.
So the next day, she gets all of her money out of the bank, drops it off at a drop site that the kidnappers told her, and she leaves. She gets home and, says, that was all the money she had. She doesn't have any more. That's all she had.
She lied about buying a plot of land. She wanted just to seem rich to people.
Well, we don't know if that's true or not. We don't really know if that's true or not.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, what if she's just saying that as an excuse to why she doesn't have as much money?
I think we do know it's true, but we can get into that later.
Okay. That may or may not be true.
Okay.
It's not that important.
No. Well, I think it's important to her character. That's why I'm saying it.
Okay. And then, whenever the kidnapper calls, she keeps asking to talk to June.
Yeah.
And the kidnapper won't. So June isn't talking on the phone. Then one day, so June is still missing, and then the teacher's teenage daughter, goes to the June piano storefront, looks through the glass door, and Shanae is like, why are you looking through the door? Why? And the teacher's daughter just cries and leaves. And that's what makes her be suspicious of the teacher. So she tells the police, and they arrest him and, bring him in. And then later they find June's body on the bank of a river.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
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 So at this point, Shanae has lost both her husband and her son, her young son. And they, holy shit. The funeral scene where it's Shanae, and then it's Shanae's brother, and then it's her husband's, her dead husband's family. So it's like the grandmother of June. And she's
her stepmom.
What?
Her, not stepmom, her mother-in-law.
Oh, yeah, June's grandmother, Shanae's mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And she's a cunt. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but she's also grieving.
Okay, that's true.
But no, she is.
Okay, good. I took so many notes.
Sorry.
And she, so her mother-in-law tells her, "You bring death, first your husband and then your child."
Where are your tears?
Yeah, where are your tears? Yeah,
because Shanae is not crying.
No, but that's because she's all cried out. She did all of her crying before. But the grandmother is a cunt and doesn't realize that. But Jong Chan, tries to make her grandmother's family realize that.
Mr. Kim. I'll just call him Mr. Kim because they call him that sometimes.
Okay. Let's see. And so before, Shanae visited a pharmacy run by a husband and wife. And before, the wife told her that basically she needs to read the Bible and find God. Yeah. And Shanae was like, "No, I'm not really religious. I don't believe in that." Well, Shanae goes there because she has menstrual cramps and she's grieving. And the pharmacist's wife is like, "Well, why don't you come to the church? We're going to have a prayer meeting." Let's see. I wrote it down. "We're going to have a prayer meeting for wounded souls. Wounded souls. Why don't you come?" And then, Shanae leaves.
She goes to like the DMV or some
town hall.
Town hall.
Yeah. To register June's death certificate. And Mr. Kim goes with her. Shanae says that it's her duty and she wants to go without Mr. Kim, but Mr. Kim shows up later because he knows, how fraught this will be for her. And it is. And then once she leaves the town hall, she sees the prayer meeting across the street. So she goes there. And there's a preacher there, preaching about God and Jesus and love and salvation. And Shanae starts crying. She's the loudest motherfucker in there. Like she's fucking wailing and grieving. And the preacher comes by and lays his hand on her head. And while that happens, Jong, or Mr. Kim, goes back to his mechanic shop where like all of his friends are. And he gets the Bible. That's when he gets the Bible and is like...
Well, it's not while that happens. He's right behind her while that happens.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Huh.
He's in the pew behind her watching her cry.
Oh, well what happens next?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. What happens next is Mr. Kim goes, gets his Bible. And then that cuts right to Shanae talking about how she's born again and how she never would have believed in God if this didn't happen. And believes everything that comes to pass is by God's will. And then we see that I guess they're having a prayer meeting at her house, and then they start to sing, and Mr. Kim shows up late.
Yeah.
And then we see the great scene where he's cursing a guy for being an asshole parker at the church, and he's the volunteer.
He's the volunteer directing parking. Yeah.
That was great. And then Shanae asks John why he's going to church, and he's basically she knows that he's going because of her.
Right.
And so she knows that he's being disingenuous in his faith, and calls him out on it. And then at another prayer meeting, they ask Shanae why she's happy. Well, why you're happy, because she doesn't seem to have a reason to be happy. And she says the reason why is because she knows that God loves her and is always watching her. Let's see. And and then we have that scene where Shanae is driving kids somewhere. Probably kids from the church, probably, to school or somewhere. And then in an alley, she sees the teacher's daughter getting slapped and roughed up by somebody.
The teacher that kidnapped her son.
Yeah, the teacher that kidnapped her. Yeah. And then, she's struggling with what to do about it. But in the end, she drives off. And then we cut to Shanae's birthday. And she says that she's decided to go to prison to forgive the teacher who killed her son. She said, God tells us to love and forgive our enemies. And so she needs to go tell him that she forgives him and to spread God's love. And so Mr. Kim has volunteered to drive her. And he's like, we don't have to do this. We could go drive off somewhere alone, just me and you somewhere else. And she's like, well, we're not going alone. Two other people are going with us. Are you going to drive us? And I was like, yeah, I'll drive you. So Shanae and Mr. Kim go inside the prison where they meet the teacher. And then Shanae says, I brought you these flowers because I know flowers are so hard for you to see, while in prison. And I just wanted to say that I found God. And so I forgive you. And then the teacher reveals that he has found God too. And he has asked God for forgiveness. And God has given him absolution for his sins. And he is now born again. So Shanae, walks out. And she's stunned by that. She drops the flowers and she faints. And then, well, basically she loses her faith at that point. She just kind of goes off the deep end. And she's at a prayer meeting and she goes, forgive? How can I possibly forgive? God has already forgiven him. If he's been absolved, how can I forgive him? I am in so much pain. Well, he has been absolved and found peace. How can God do that to me? And then she tells everyone to leave and that she has a lot to do. And then she starts screaming because there's an earthworm. We then cut to the scene where she shoplifts a CD for no reason. And then she goes to an outdoor church meeting that has it basically has a microphone and a sound system.
Yeah, it's like a revival tent. They have like a background and like a stage set up outside and big speakers and chairs set up outside.
So she goes to the tent with the sound equipment in and she puts a CD in and it starts to play a song. Let's see, how do the lyrics go? It starts with lies. Love is a lie. Smiling is a lie. They're all lies. That kind of reminds me of The Wedding Singer. Hold on. Because I love that song.
Lies, lies, love is a lie, smiling is a lie, they're all lies, yeah.
Yeah. That's like in The Wedding Singer, after his fiance has left him, he's like, I wrote a song. I was listening to a lot of The Cure when I wrote it. And he goes, you don't know how much I need you. While you're near me, I don't feel blue. And when we kiss, I know you need me too. I can't believe I found a love that's so pure and true. But it all was bullshit. It was a goddamn joke. And when I think of you, Linda, I hope you fucking choke. I have that song on my list, by the way. So it's a lot like that, you know? Yeah. And the Reverend there, you know, he's trying to preach over the song about how everything he's saying is lies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And then she's sleeping at night. Oh wait.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
That was it.
Okay. So she's sleeping at night, and then she wakes up and she answers the phone like the teacher had kidnapped Jean, you know, basically replay that scene. So it's like she had a nightmare and she was reliving the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then she calls Mr. Kim, and then, you know, Mr. Kim says that he'll check to see if the teacher was able to call her on the phone from in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, Shanae stands outside the pharmacy just staring inside while the male pharmacist is there. And then, you know, the guy is looking at her, staring into the store, you know, for a couple of minutes. And so she finally comes in. Oh, and she does this during the day. We find out that it was Mr. Kim's birthday. And
well, yeah.
And he arranged to have a dinner date with her, and she said she would go. So he's at a restaurant, you know, trying to make sure that everything's, you know, great for this dinner. But instead of going, you know, she goes to the pharmacy and she does this. And when she goes inside, she tells the guy that she needs advice, that there's something wrong with her body, as if butterflies are inside. And the pharmacist goes,
sounds like indigestion.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's like, no, that's not what I mean. And then she asks him to take her for a drive. And while they're driving, she starts feeling up his thighs. And so they park. And they start to make out. But then she says to get out because she's stuffing it inside. So he's like, okay, let's go outside. So he goes outside. And then he goes to the trunk to get one of those dash covers out, you know, the metallic ones
that you put in your windshield.
Yeah. So he puts that on the ground. And so she's like, let's be quick. And then she pulls him down on top of her. And so she's looking up at the sky while the pharmacist is, you know, going to town on her body or trying to. And she goes, can you see? You know, as if to God. And then the pharmacist can't get it up. And I know the reason why is because he knows that she's fucking crazy and she's not really into this.
And he probably feels some guilt, maybe.
Yeah, probably, because he's a churchgoer too. So.
And his wife, he has a wife, yeah.
Yeah, he has a wife. And so she vomits. And so we go back to John, to Mr. Kim at the restaurant.
You can say either one, I'm sorry.
Well, I want to say John, but that's not his full name. It's John Chan, but it's tough for me to say John Chan. So I'll just say Mr. Kim.
Okay.
So Mr. Kim is at the restaurant, and the people there kind of bust his balls that he got stood up. So he's back at home, you know, having some food, and he's talking to his mother, who called him on his birthday, who's calling him a loser.
Yeah.
And then Shanae comes by and tells him that she met someone else and asks if he wants to do it too. And he's like, you know, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And she says that he just gazes at her, but he's not willing to do anything about it. And so he yells at her, tells her to pull herself together. And then in the next scene, she's alone at her house, you know, kind of getting some food ready to eat. And then she turned, well, no, she's not at her house. She's at her piano teacher store.
I think that's her house.
No, is the store her house?
I think there's like a back room that's her house, maybe.
Okay.
I could be wrong though, but I think that's all
It's the same place?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so she turns on all the lights, and then she starts cutting up an apple to eat, and then she looks up and she says, I won't lose to you, never. And actually, she has a knife that she's been using to slice the apples. And then when she looks down, she finds that one of her wrists has been cut.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes outside the store, out into the street, asking for help. And it's the pharmacist across the street that, call and, I'm a little wrong about that. She's okay. Because there's also a part where they're having a prayer vigil for Shanae.
Yes.
They're praying for her, and she knows about it. So what does she do?
She goes to the apartment of the pharmacist, I'm assuming, where the prayer meeting is happening, and they're all like praying for her and like praying that she'll, get better and feel better, and then she just throws a rock at the window.
Yeah, and it fucking cracks too.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's that part.
And then she cuts herself.
Yeah, then she cuts herself. And then the next thing we see are flowers in the passenger seat of a car as it drives. And it's like, oh no, what's happening now? And then we see that it's Shanae's brother is sitting in the back seat and Mr. Kim is driving. And we find out that that Mr. Kim is taking her to basically a mental hospital where Shanae has been. And she's being released that day. So the brother and Mr. Kim want to be there for her as she's released. Her brother doesn't stay long. He takes a train back to Seoul. And Mr. Kim says that he wants to take her out to eat, but she wants to get her hair first. So he's like, that's not a problem. So Mr. Kim takes her to a salon. And she sits down to get her hair trimmed. And we see that working there is the teacher's daughter. And as soon as that happened, it's like, oh no, what's going on here? And Mr. Kim doesn't realize any of this at all.
No.
But the teacher's daughter and Shanae does. And so Shanae just walks out. And so she walks on the street, and then she goes to the shopkeeper. Now, before, she was like introducing herself to the businesses around where hers was, to kind of promote her piano teaching school and to let everybody know that she's new there. And when she was there, she told a shopkeeper that she basically should redecorate it because it looks too gloomy the way it is. And she became friends with her. They also went to church together. And so by this point,
I don't think they actually went to church together.
Oh, they didn't?
No, but they would gather as groups of friends.
Okay. I could be wrong.
Because she tried to convince them to go to church.
Okay. So Shanae is walking down the street, and she passes by that shopkeeper's shop, and she's like, hey, you're out of the mental hospital. And she's like, yeah, I just got released today. Look, I redecorated it just like you said I should. And there was a cause of tension because before they were at a hair salon, and Shanae was getting her hair cut, but she was off in another room, and the shopkeeper was talking shit about her for telling her to redecorate her store. But she actually did it, and she said, says thank you to Shanae. And then she noticed that parts of Shanae's hair was cut, and she's like, well, what did you do? Well, I went to a salon to get it trimmed, but I didn't like it, so I walked out. And the shopkeeper goes, you walked out of a salon? You can't do that. What are you, crazy? And they have a great big laugh.
Well, then she stopped and she's like, oh shit, yeah. I didn't mean that. And then they all laugh.
Yeah, they all laugh. And so Shanae goes to the backyard. And then she starts to finish cutting her hair herself. And then Mr. Kim shows up and says, here, let me hold the mirror for you. And then the camera turns her way to the ground. And then that's where we hear, it sounds like a very 70s kind of European, song, instrumental song. And it was the one that was played at the beginning of the movie. So. And that's Secret Sunshine.
Yep. Episode over.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. No.
Well, we're 45 minutes in.
Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Are we really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I have so much I want to talk about still.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it. What do you want to talk about first?
I mean, I don't know. There's like we just got the plot done, you know?
Yeah. Do you want me to start? Because I know where I can start.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The church preys on suffering people. That's how I can start.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what they do. I mean, this is a woman who's had a lot of heartbreak in her life. Her husband died, and then her son was murdered, held for ransom. So they also took all of her money that she had. So yeah, the church, religious groups prey on desperate people. This is a woman who's had a lot of heartbreak in her life. Her husband was killed in an accident. Her child was kidnapped and murdered. And then she lost all of her money to pay for the ransom. She's at a point where, what does she have to live for at this point?
Yeah.
What did she have to live for at this point? With that kind of devastating loss. And so at that point, she's reaching out for a reason to live. And then the church provides her with one, even though it's a lie. So, that God loves you. And it also, the church, it's that thing where God works in mysterious ways, which is mankind trying to find...
rationalize.
Yeah, trying to find a sense of organization and sense in a universe that lacks it.
Yeah.
So they come in and while she's grieving, they give her a reason to keep on going, which is kind of nice. And at least they don't take total advantage of her because of that. And yeah, so she has a reason at her lowest to just keep on, just because of that reason. But eventually she realizes that, that's not enough, and they're not truly providing answers for her. And if someone is terrible, if she can be in the same group with somebody as terrible as the man who killed her son, why would you want to be a part of that group?
Yeah.
What's that? Okay.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah.
And what she gets at the heart of is a philosophical question that has been around since ancient times, which is the problem of evil. And you can look it up on Wikipedia, just like I do. And the problem of evil is a philosophical question of, if God is all powerful, why does he allow evil to exist? And the two rational reasons or two logical reasons for it is either one, God is all powerful and he still allows evil to exist, and therefore he is evil himself. Or two, God is not all powerful, which means he is unable to stop evil and therefore is not actually omnipotent.
And the way it was explained to me was, God is all powerful, but in order to give humans free will, he lets them do whatever they want, and therefore they do evil.
Yes, but if God can't intervene, why doesn't he?
Well, that's the thing, Steve. He does sometimes, and then sometimes he doesn't.
Okay.
And who are you to question that?
Well, yeah, that's true.
You're just immortal.
Well, that's why I don't question God anymore. So, yeah. So yeah, yeah, she's brought to her breaking point, but she says, she looks up to God, and she's like, you're not going to get me, and in the end, she still survives it.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, she gets through it. So there's a little bit of hope there.
There is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, I find the haircutting scene to be the most hopeful scene in the movie.
Well, I mean, what scene where somebody gets a haircut is not a metaphor for transformation?
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta watch Empire Records.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I was gonna write. I think I've talked about it on the podcast before.
I hate to put it this way.
Okay.
But it's the best way I can put it. Is there's a character there that gives herself a Britney Spears buzz cut before Britney Spears got her buzz cut. So
nice.
I'm gonna piss off a lot of people with that. Britney Spears buzz cut.
I mean,
hey, I'm good with Britney Spears now, but maybe I should cut that out.
I don't know. Whatever.
Okay. But
yeah, she cut her hair in a moment of distraughtness or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. But this is not that though.
No. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's great though.
Yes, it is great.
I'm trying to think of how to talk about it because I know I have a lot of things I want to say.
Pick one thing to say and start there.
Okay. All right. I'll start with the character of Shine.
Okay.
I love that she's so complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her character is not a straightforward character. She isn't like a nice person that is, a grieving woman, and she doesn't get along with people well from the start. Mm-hmm. She is not socially great.
It's not that she's mean. Yeah, it's not that she's mean. It's that she is socially awkward. For whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't think this is a sexist term. It might be, but I apologize if it is. But I think it's like a good word in my mind to describe her, which is she's like ditzy almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that.
She is like surface level, kind of. She doesn't have a lot of depth to her. Mm-hmm. She's also traumatized.
Yeah.
We learn later in the movie that she probably had an upbringing that her father did stuff to her potentially, or her father was a terrible person to her. And she got married young, probably to escape from her father. Yeah. And her husband, when Mr. Kim talks about her husband, he was like, I hated that guy. He was a son of a bitch and it wasn't any good. Mm-hmm. Because they were trying to remember him. They were Mr. Kim and his friends were talking about her husband.
Okay.
Yeah, they were talking about her husband when they're at the police station, and the teacher shows up after that.
Right.
I think. But yeah, so she's a woman who is, a mixed bag as a person. She's not all good or all bad.
Yeah. Well, another factor is apparently she grew up in Seoul, and then her husband moved away from Miryang. Mm-hmm. Moved away from Miryang to Seoul, and then they met and then got married. And then she came to the smaller town. Mm-hmm. So, there's a big difference between a big urban city like Seoul is, where you can just get lost. You don't have to talk to your neighbor, basically. Yeah. I imagine that's what it might be like. I've never been. But I imagine that's what it's like. And then you move to a much smaller, city where everybody knows everything about you. Yeah. That can make things awkward as well. For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I remember growing up in a small town in the Everglades, and everybody knew my grandfather because, he was a big businessman there. So, and he was there, for a very long time. So everybody knew him. And then my dad was born and raised there, and so he's an established businessman there too. So everybody knows him. So I'm just used to strangers, people I don't know, coming up to me and knowing my name and asking me, how my grandfather or my dad is doing. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing fine, Yeah. And that hasn't been very helpful to me. That's a bit awkward and a little anxiety inducing to me growing up like that. Like this stranger not thinking they know who I am. Yeah. It's not easy sometimes.
Small towns are weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I love being in a big city where nobody has to know me and I don't have to talk to anyone. And in fact, if anybody does, like if I visit a place too often and they start to get to know me, I immediately start going someplace else.
Are you serious? That's so funny. I can't tell if that's sad or not, or just I don't know. That's
it hilarious. Is what it is, man. It is what it is. Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah. So she's a complex character.
She's a complex character. She's not exactly super likable.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, she's not a terrible person.
No, she's
either. Not. She really, walks that fine line for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I just find her so interesting because, okay, she went to Seoul.
Maybe like I'm not so affected by her character being like that because I'm kind of like that too myself.
I don't think you are necessarily.
Like when she like when they're in that group eating and then she gets up to leave and they're like, wait, you got to pay your share.
Yeah.
That.
You haven't done that.
No, but I'm so awkward and I'm afraid of that. I'm like, okay, well, this has to be on me now because I'm too afraid to tell people that they need to pay their shit.
I think she's, I don't know. I just, because, okay, we also see that she lies about, buying the land. And this is where I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I think she was completely lying about it.
Okay.
Because they're at a plot of land. Mr. Kim has taken her to this plot of land because his friend is in real estate. Mm-hmm. And her brother's there. Uh-huh. And her brother's like, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And she laughs about it. And she's like, oh, it's just an investment or whatever. But that's him saying, you don't have this kind of money. Why are you doing this? In my opinion. And so he knows that it's a farce for her. And she's doing it just to get sort of that fame of being someone who could be capable of buying this house.
Okay.
And she kind of like talks it up and pretends like it's not a big deal, which ends up, signaling to the teacher that she has money, and then that's why the teacher kidnaps her son.
Yeah.
We're not saying that it's her fault, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just, maybe the X in me being an exennial makes me remember what the American dream was like when people could actually afford homes. So maybe that's why I kind of take her at her word on that. So. Yeah,
but also she takes out all her money from the bank, and
well, that's true too.
What would be the point of her, lying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she lied about having more money in the bank.
I don't think she lied about having more money in the bank, but I also, so what I was thinking is that maybe she had the money to buy a plot of land, but maybe it wasn't a big plot, or I could be wrong, I could be wrong, or maybe the teacher was expecting her to buy a huge plot of land when in actuality, she just wanted a plot of land just for a house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And having the money to buy land for a house is a lot different than having the money to buy land for real estate development.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I was thinking is, well, she had the money to buy a plot of land for a house, but she didn't have, the tons of money for the plot development. And that's what the teacher was thinking that she had.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway, word gets out, and like when she says, "Oh, I was lying," I thought that was her being desperate to explain why she doesn't have the amount of cash that the teacher expected her to have.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think she was just lying, but it could be.
Yeah. Hey, I'm. For whatever reason, I never take movies at their word. I never take movies at their word now.
That's cool.
So, I mean, it could be, so it could be. So, you're right.
I also don't mean to be like so against her, but this watch through, because I've seen this movie quite a few times.
Mhm.
This is probably the movie I've seen most out of all the movies I've shown.
Uh-huh.
Well, maybe not. I don't remember.
What's the movie that you've seen the most often? Period.
Ever?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't rewatch movies too often,
Okay.
so I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's
Maybe
okay.
a movie from my childhood. I remember when I was a kid, I watched The Pacifier like 12 times
Okay.
because I got it for Christmas
Uh-huh.
or something like that
Okay.
for my birthday. Yeah, I don't know.
Mine is tied. There's The Hunt for Red October, and then there's Starship Troopers. And those are my two most watched movies of all time.
That's amazing.
Complex characters.
Oh, Hot Rod, probably. I've seen Hot Rod the most times.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that explains it.
Um,
Complex characters. Lying. Yeah. Okay.
I don't hate her. Like, I don't mean to sound like I'm just saying she's...
No. She's done nothing to deserve hate, is the thing.
Yeah. I think she has this sort of misplaced optimism. She's naive.
Yeah, for sure.
And she sets up her piano business as teaching piano, and it's just kind of like pitiful almost, because we see her, she's trying to like give a recital to some parents.
Yeah.
And she's trying to play a song that she learned, and she just messes up. Like when she's playing, it doesn't sound bad, but then, you know, she hits a few sour notes and then she stops completely. And it's so painful and awkward. And we see her face turned away in an awesome shot. We see her face, and then also the face of Mr. Kim and, you know, some other people who are the parents. It's not like a big recital. It's in somebody's home.
Yeah.
But it's just like this moment of awkward, like they're like, oh, wow, maybe she isn't super good.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's painful. Yeah. And then, you know, Mr. Kim is such a great character too.
Hey, well, when it comes to that, hey, you know, people who are mid need to earn a living too, you know?
No, yeah, and there's nothing wrong, because you can still teach a kid piano, even if you can't play it extremely well. You can still teach them how to play, how to read music, and
there's a phrase for this already.
Yeah. It's from School of Rock.
Well, from a lot of places. I first heard it from Finding Forrester. You're the man now, dog. Sean Connery teaches a young black man from the hood how to write.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what Finding Forrester is about.
Oh, I watched that movie when I was really young. That was like the first F word I heard.
Oh, okay.
And I remember it because I was like, what did he even say? And my brother and like my mom were like, no, he didn't say anything. I was like, it sounded like he said book. And because it's Sean Connery, and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, actually, it sounded like he said "fuck," "fuck," and they're like, just don't worry about it.
How old were you?
I was pretty young, but I mean, not that young.
Like, well, how young? Like,
I don't know.
Let's guess.
I was probably older than. I was probably like 7 or 8.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so you were a kid then?
Yeah, I was a kid.
Okay. I was like in college when that movie came out.
Yeah.
Moving on. So the phrase is those who can do, those who can't teach. So
yeah. And those who can't teach Jim.
Right. What's that from?
School of Rock.
Okay.
I've also seen that movie quite a few times. Also Zombieland. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So yeah, there's nothing wrong with teaching someone, even though you can't perform proficiently, you can still understand it well. So yeah, anyways, Mr. Kim is a great character. Well, I love him.
So back then, I had a lady friend. And we were talking on the phone, and she was like, "Here, let me play the piano for you." What?
It just sounds disastrous. What a disastrous setup. Okay, go ahead.
No. I mean, it was fine, and she played piano for me. But she like fucked up in parts. And like when she was done, I was like, "Hey, that was great." And she was like, "What are you talking about? Didn't you hear me fuck up at those parts?" I was like, No, you're great, baby. Yeah, you're great. But Mr. Kim kind of does the same thing because, she messes up and then, she can't go on anymore. And that's when he just starts clapping for her.
Yeah.
So
he's such a trooper.
Yeah.
He's a hardcore simp, but I love him so much for it.
I know.
You can't help but love him.
I know. And he's not that bad of a guy.
No, not at all.
He's a very everyman kind of character.
I love him. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he is driving the brother to the hospital, you can see that he has a cross hanging from the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And the brother goes, "You're still going to church?" And Mr. Kim goes, "Yeah. I don't know. I mostly go out of habit though. It's kind of peaceful. And, I basically like meeting people there. And like, that's the only reason he goes to church." And it's like, that's probably the healthiest attitude to have when it comes to relationships. Just a reason to meet with other people.
Yeah. I mean, that's the most beautiful part of, in Christianity, at least in this film, or, the idea of religion is that it's a community.
Yeah.
And, when I was a part of the church and stuff, I did have people who, like helped me in life and stuff like that. And, knew my family, and it was a beneficial relationship in that way. And you have people who care about you and ask about you and how you're doing and stuff, and so it's like, and especially in in more poor communities, that church is a backbone of the community. And does a lot of philanthropic work and helps people. There's problems with it sometimes, depending on like who they decide to help. Like we talked about this before. But
another thing is, in the United States, it feels like we're a much more individualist country than, most other countries out there are, where community is far more of a thing than what it is here in the U.S. So, yeah.
But yeah, Mr. Kim is so funny. I just love him so much. Yeah. Because he loves her unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? Like she does him dirty every single step of the way.
Well,
and rubs it in.
Well, hold on. Hold on.
Okay, true.
Hold on.
I'm being annoying. I'm being biased.
Yeah, I mean, just because he simps for her is no reason for her to get together with him.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying she should end up with him.
Right.
I'm just saying that he does a lot of good for her.
Yeah.
And while he wants to get something in return,
he keeps doing these things without expecting it.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah. Although he is...
And, she even, like, he's been warned off.
Yeah.
Even the brother, like, when the brother meets him the first time, he's like, "Hey, can I give you a hint?" And he's like, "Sure." And Mr. Kim is like, "Sure." And the brother says, "You're not really my sister's type." So he gets warned, but... he keeps on anyway. And
she in no way leads him on.
No.
And then if anything, she's like, "I don't really need your help, thank you, but leave me alone," kind of thing. Like, and again, it's nothing against her. Well, I mean, she does do him dirty, but it's also when she's at her most lowest point in life.
That's to show something about her and where she's at in her character arc. Rather than like a personality trait of hers. Yeah.
And like he does overstep, I think, a lot too when he's just completely blind. Well, no, he oversteps all the time.
Yeah. All the time.
But like when he's like when he like asks her to go out on a restaurant on his birthday or whatever. I forget what had just happened, but basically she had just had like a mental breakdown, basically. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, well, thanks for calling. You want to go out?"
Well, he asks her the night that she answered the phone as if the teacher called with a ransom demand. Yeah. And he's like, "Okay, I'll tell the police and I'll call the prison. And hey, would you like to go eat tomorrow?"
Yeah, exactly. So like, he's not all good, obviously, but like, he does, do his best to help her out.
But he's not a terrible person. No. He's and he's not an incel or he's not a toxic guy.
No, I wouldn't say he is. No.
So,
And he has friends, and he doesn't like.
Yeah. Well, he's probably he's probably better adjusted when it comes to women than his friends are, because the 2 times we see his friends, around another woman, it's at the shop, and there's that one woman there. And the first time they talk, they ask her if she's wearing cheerleader panties, and then the second time they're asking her if she's wearing a bra. And they're like, well, what is that in front? And she's like, buttons. And it's like, they don't put buttons on bras there. So
yeah, they're being very weird. They're being very creepy.
That's toxic.
That's toxic.
That's toxic.
But it is like, it's pretty funny in the movie.
Yeah.
And she's not a stranger. She's not a stranger, and she's not like, she's obviously friends with them. But they are being gross. But like, it's not like a. Yeah.
It's not like they're doing it to a stranger.
Yeah, and they're not doing it to like. I don't know. It's not
kind of busting her balls a little.
Exactly, a little bit.
Yeah,
it's friendly, and it's not like they're gonna try and do anything creepy.
Yeah,
they are creepy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna stop.
Just to their lady friends or female friends.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways,
it's okay.
And so it's interesting too, because to Mr. Kim's part, like everyone treats him like he's kind of like a lowlife a little bit, like he's kind of pitiful or whatever.
Well, his own mother calls him a loser.
Yeah, a loser. But he's like the most functional one. He has his own business. He lives on his own, and like he actually knows people who are in positions of power, as much as other people make fun of him for it. He knows real estate agents, and he like sets her up. Yeah. He immediately, it's so funny because like this is the type of person he is, as like the overly helpful person. As soon as she's in his tow truck and he's driving her into town, the first time they meet, he's calling his real estate friends to be like, hey, there's a person and she's coming into town. Can you show her around and show her some houses and stuff? And it's just like, it's very funny. But he's just that type of person who's like, well,
now I see why you relate to him so much.
Yeah, I think that is what it is. Because there was a time when I was completely hopelessly optimistic, and I'm also a simp.
Well, so. I mean, you may not be as optimistic as you are now, but you are definitely extremely helpful to others.
I am,
which is not a bad trait. It's not a bad trait.
It can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's at the expense of my own health and well-being.
That is true.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the two, I would say, main characters. And I love how well-rounded they are as people. And I love, again, this isn't, so I'm not talking all shit, Shin-A does care really well for June, as well as she can. Except for that one time when she left him alone, but she's a single mother, and she's trying to do her best. She's trying to make friends.
Well, that's the thing. If she didn't go out with, if she, it kind of goes. Well, now I kind of want to get in a conversation about like, I don't know how to put it, like going out, the culture of going out.
Yeah.
In Southeast Asia, because she's with her, her woman friends.
Yeah.
And they're at a bar, and they're getting pitchers of beer. Yeah. Like they're not fucking around. They're not fucking around with wine or, wine coolers or mixed drinks. No, they're getting fucking pitchers of beer. And like, I know, like that's kind of like how their culture is, like, especially with men. Men are still expected to go, after work, go out to a bar and then drink with their coworkers, and then, network that way, basically. Yeah. So if you are someone who has a drinking problem, or don't want to get started with that, or, if you want to limit yourself, like, I'll have 2 beers instead of, 5, they don't really, the culture around that isn't really conducive to that kind of thinking, unfortunately.
Yeah. And when you're new, and it's also part of the movie too, right? So she was out with the group of women that were gossiping about her earlier in the movie. Mm-hmm. So this is her chance to get in good with their neighbors who were previously talking shit about her. Mm-hmm. And this is her chance to make friends with them and make peace with them.
Yeah.
And, make friends in her community that she's, trying to get her roots in. Yeah. And, become able to have people who support her and she supports them.
Yeah, so develop a support network of friends for her in the new place that she's at.
Yeah, which is something that, everybody
is normal.
Yeah. And, normally you would be able to either bring your child with you or, let your other partner take care of them. Yeah. And she's not in the position to do that. Mm-hmm. So it's not like she's being completely irresponsible or anything like that. It's just
he's he's at the low end of the age where he can kind of look out for himself. Kind of.
Yeah.
If she went off to the store somewhere for a while, she could leave him at home and trust that he won't, set the place on fire.
Yeah.
He's at that age. Oh my God, I would never leave my kid alone, for a night in that way.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not judging her. I mean, I basically said, that's when June becomes a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened to an entire generation of Americans, during the 80s, starting during the 80s, when both parents had to start work, to have enough of an income to support the family, and they're called latchkey kids because, they would ride the bus home and then they would have a key around a cord on their around their neck, and they'd just let themselves in, and then they'd be alone because when school lets out, it's not the same time as when businesses quit for the day.
Right. Which is so weird.
Yeah.
Why do we do it that way?
Well, number one, you're expecting America to be like the most efficiently run and, run things in a normal way. I mean, you could make the argument, well, women shouldn't be working. Women should stay at home and be taking care of their kids when they get home from school. But unfortunately, we won't let our system of economics and finance be such that we can have a single earner pay for an entire family to allow that.
Yeah.
So, and, they don't care, they don't care that these kids, some of these kids basically had to learn how to take care of themselves, or that they got in trouble because they were, alone at home instead of having a parent or guardian there with them. And, if you don't do that, well, you got to hire a babysitter. Well, that means you have to make up, you have to earn enough money to hire a babysitter for those hours. So, yeah.
Yep. It's a weird system we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like this movie. It does a very good job of creating well-rounded characters and well-rounded side characters, and a good setting and world.
And everybody sticks to their character. There's not really any times like they do something out of character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of those reasons is because, there's so many, like I said, there's so many great setups in this movie. Yeah.
What are some of the setups? I mean,
well, let's see. There's, like I said, June hiding.
Yes.
And then, Shanae not being able to find him. There's that setup. Another setup is when she's leaving the drop-off point, and she's not thinking, and so she almost hits those girls crossing the street. One of them, I think, is the teacher's daughter.
Yes.
And then there's a callback to that later when she sees the teacher's daughter being roughed up in the alley, and then she leaves, and then she almost hits this couple who's crossing the street and call her out on it. So that's a great setup.
Oh, that's a cool scene too, because it's like, Sorry.
Okay.
1 second. I just like that scene. Right. Okay. She's like, I'm sorry. And they're like, sorry isn't good enough. You could have killed someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm sorry to sidetrack us, but is it okay if I go on a tangent?
Yeah.
Sorry isn't good enough. You could have killed someone, which is what the teacher did.
Yeah. Well, that's what she feels she did. She feels that she's responsible because she wasn't there. That's the subtext there, is that in a way, Shanae is responsible for June's death because she wasn't there to protect him when the teacher came and kidnapped him.
But also the subtext is sorry isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you say sorry to God, it shouldn't be good enough.
Yeah.
Because you killed someone.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to be absolved just because you said sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how earnest you were and actually sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what the movie is also saying there.
That's
in
true.
A double meaning, maybe. Or triple meaning or whatever.
Well, I mean, it's also interesting that, the teacher, he says that God has absolved me, and so I have now found peace. And then Shanae, she never finds peace. Never.
She claims to have found peace right whenever she's born again.
I think that's bullshit. I think she's just fooling herself. I mean, and even if I'm wrong, it's a peace that does not last once she meets the prisoner. Once she meets the teacher in prison.
Well, it's beautifully done. I love this freaking movie so much because she talks in the prayer circle and she talks about how much peace she's found.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm happy. She says, I'm happy. And the reason why I'm happy is because I know I'm not alone and God is watching me. Like, that's the specific reason she gives for how she can be happy now after first her husband dies and then her son was murdered.
And there's a moment right after that, I think, which is where she's washing dishes in the kitchen. And you can tell something happens that just triggers a memory of June or something. And she's looking up, probably out the window. But you can see in her face that something has hurt her, a memory of kind, right? Some kind. And so she starts saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will to be done on earth as is in heaven. Forgive us this day, or give us this day our daily bread. I'm sorry, I'm messing it up, but give us this day our daily bread.
Forgive us of our trespasses.
And forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And she stops there. And it's then that she's like, oh, I have to forgive this guy. And that's what leads on to her, going to the next part, which is her trying to forgive the teacher who killed her son. So again, I think that's beautifully set up and, subtle enough. I think it works beautifully.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, okay, go ahead. I don't know. You were going to say something, weren't you?
Well, another setup is, the opening image. The opening image is a shot of the sky, blue sky with a few clouds, and it's from the inside of a windshield. Yes. And it holds for a good long time. And then we see a reverse shot where we see that it's June sitting in the passenger seat of a car that's parked and off the side of the highway. So that's the opening shot. And then later, we see a similar shot where it's of the sky and it's blue and there are a few clouds going by and it's from the inside of a windshield. But when we see the reverse shot, it's Shanae and she's in the passenger seat of a police car. And they're taking her to where they found her son's body at the riverbank.
Yep.
And one of the cool things I saw in that scene is there's like a little swarm of gnats that are kind of like in the foreground.
Yeah. Probably
drawn there by, the smell of its dead body, probably.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
This movie also does similar to Martin Scorsese, where he has a God character almost. He has the characters look up whenever they refer to God or whenever they're talking about something transcendent or, they're addressing a higher power.
Yeah, yeah.
And this movie has that a lot. She looks up to the sky a lot. Also, I think the sunshine in this movie plays a pivotal role in that spiritual aspect of the movie. because that's the metaphor for God in this movie, right?
Yeah, you're right, because that's what the
pharmacist church lady.
Yeah. The pharmacist, the woman pharmacist, she says, God can be felt in a ray of sunshine, or something to that effect. And then Shanae is like, no. When I feel sunshine, I just feel the sunshine. I don't feel God there at all.
Yeah. And she even says, well, she's talking about the invisibility of God and how he's there, even though we can't see him.
Even though we can't see it.
And with God, there's a whole half of the world that we can't see. And that, is secret sunshine. That is Miryang, that is the secret of the sunshine, the part of it we can't see, that's God. And I think that's, again, beautifully set up. Well, that also refers to the peace that Mr. Kim finds, in the community of the church, if not the belief of the church, you could say, because he says he finds it peaceful, and he goes out there out of habit, and if he stopped going, he would miss it. So, he does find he finds a peace in the community of church, if not the belief and faith of church. So I would say almost, though, that it doesn't seem like he's hanging out with church people, I think he's going there. Okay, maybe some up for the community, to be around people. Yeah. And for the routine of it. Yeah. I think that's part of it, too. He's probably made friends there. And, so he just goes to church as an excuse, to hang out with them, basically. Yeah. I love the scene. So Shanae is outside at some kind of thing, and they're in like a semicircle, and there's a guitarist, and they're playing and they're singing out in public. Yeah. Kind of as like a way to get people to come to church, kind of thing. And Mr. Kim is there beside her, and then like his friends are. He's never beside Shanae. Oh. But I'll get to that later. Okay, that's a good point, though. Later. Okay, he's with her among the group of singers. Yeah. And his friends show up. His friends from his mechanic shop that are always hanging around his mechanic shop. They show up and they start like making fun of him, teasing him. And then he goes over and he smokes with them. He takes a break from singing, and then he goes behind a bus stop or something, and he sneaks a cigarette while he jicks around with his friends. Yeah, and one of his friends is like, I've been climbing mountains and getting to the top and absorbing chi for you. Climbing to the top of all these different mountains, getting chi into his balls, to send off to Mr. Kim. And he's like, I guess it hasn't gotten to you yet. Maybe you should. And Mr. Kim goes, look, I have plenty of chi, of my own chi in my balls. I don't need any more. I guess that's like the South Korean way of saying you're a simp, I guess. Well, they're asking him if he's gotten anywhere with her. Okay. They're like, have you gotten anywhere with her, basically? And I mean, it's saying. Well, if the answer is no, it's because he's a simp. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it's a vitality thing, like a manliness type, like Anyways, I gotcha. But I think that is a funny part. Very funny part. That is a very funny part. But yeah, so the spiritual aspect of the film and the sunshine, I want to talk about that a little bit. Okay. Beautiful part whenever she's, in that scene where she feels the sunshine, talking to the lady pharmacist, church lady. But it's all throughout the film. What time they shoot at is very intentional to get the sunshine. I mean, it's all over. I can't even talk about specific parts of it. Okay. But it's literally like everywhere during the day scenes. But, the part I do want to talk about is the ending. I don't know if we should talk about it now, but whatever. We can talk about it. I have something to say about the ending. Okay. Also, that freaking image of Mr. Kim holding the mirror as she's cutting her hair is just gorgeous, and it sticks with me every time I think of this movie. I think of that. But again, when we pan down to her hair being cut, and it's on the ground, and then it's blowing a little bit in the wind, and then we pan over to the ground and the earth. But it's like also where the sun is shining. Okay. And so, are you telling me that's what that shot represents?
Tell me what that shot represents, or else I'm going to complain about something. I'm going to complain about something because I don't see what it represents. I don't see the symbolism. I just see a piece of the ground.
Yeah.
Where, you know, there was hair and then it got blown away and now it's not there anymore and we stay on it. And I don't understand why. Because I was told we have to end on a shot, you know, that's representative of something. Because I tried to do that in Alice's Mopix 2 when I edited it. Remember? I tried to end on the shot of the cactus. It was like, well, what does a cactus represent? And I'm like, it doesn't represent anything. It's just a shot. It's like, well, no, it's got to represent something.
A cactus totally represents something.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, you know, it represents, you know, I was trying to be artsy-fartsy with it. And it's like, well, you know, it represents whatever you want it to represent. But, you know, let it be in the mind of the audience. But you know, y'all were like, no, it has to mean something. I'm like, okay, fine. And then I edited it to something else.
Okay.
That's why I'm pissed off. It's like, well, why can this guy do it, but I can't do that? Why?
You can just do it with your own movie. That's probably what it was.
No. That's not what it was. That's not what it was.
All right.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well.
Okay.
I saw somewhere in an article that it means something, potentially.
Okay.
But I don't think this director is the kind of guy that's like, this means this. I think, you know, he's an artist who is like, I have a meaning for it. You decide what you think.
Well, that's what I tried to do with the shot of the cactus.
And I'm saying maybe I was wrong to dissuade you of that.
Well, you weren't the only one, is what I'm saying.
I got you. You could say screw you to Alice if you want.
Well, I know Alice didn't like it, and I'll say screw you to Alice all the time, but she's fine with it.
And I'm sorry that I said that to you.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I know.
I'm just saying, you know, sometimes, you know, just do shit. You know what I mean? Just do shit to end it. Especially when you got to end it. It's like, you got to end it sometime. Just fucking end it. So.
I think this movie is... Okay. All right. I wrote it down. I'm just going to read my notes.
Oh, okay.
What are we supposed to see? Is there something unseen there? Is there something spiritual? Is there half of us, half of the world that we should be able to see, like the spiritual half, right? Or is it just fucking dirt, you know? Because is it just mud, or is it mud that's in the sun, you know, that's being touched by the secret sunshine? Is God still there, refusing to leave her? And, you know, it's because she feels like God's still around and he's still messing with her.
You think so?
Yes. Because immediately after the haircutting scene, she talks to Mr. Kim and she's like, why did you take me here? Why did you take me here of all places, of all hair salons? He's like, it's just a salon. It's just close. And then she looks up at the sky and she gets like, and then she starts walking away. And then she runs into her neighbor with the storefront who changed her storefront, you know? And so I think she's not unconvinced that God isn't still watching her.
I mean, I don't know. I think if anything, like she's still giving the fuck you to God.
Yeah.
In that way. Like
sure.
If she still believes in God, she's like, fuck you, God.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
But
she's not on friendly terms with God at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But
she's like, are you still fucking with me?
yeah, I think that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's so just living out of spite.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, it's also a mirror to the first shot, right? The first shot is of the clouds in the sky, and then the last shot is of the ground.
Okay.
It's the divine versus the, you know, whatever the other one's called. I forget the other term for it.
You know what we got to review for the podcast?
What?
Room 237.
I like that movie. It's a fun movie.
I fucking love that movie.
Sierra likes that movie too.
Okay.
Wait, no, I'm thinking of 1408.
Yeah, different movie. This is the Shining documentary.
Yeah, okay. I remember.
About all the crazy theories.
I think that movie's okay. It's really long though, and it's the same beat over and over and over again.
It's only an hour 42 minutes.
Yeah, but it's the same thing over and over and over again. I think it's funny and I like it, but it's a long slog for me.
Okay. Okay.
I love that you like it too. I like the concept of it.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed to watching it.
Okay.
I'm not trying to talk shit about it or whatever.
Okay.
It's not my favorite thing.
Okay. It's my favorite thing.
I love that you love it, Steve.
He was like, oh, there's got to be meaning to these. It's like, the answer was, they had to wrap up for the day, or, they were in a hurry that day, or, things just got lost in the shuffle of a movie production. There's actually a YouTube video about Room 237, where it's like, Kubrick is, a perfectionist. And so, he had to have done that shot for a reason. And then he goes through like scenes from a bunch of his other movies that, where obvious mistakes were made. So it's like, I'm not anti-intellectual. Okay. I'm just contra-intellectual. I think, there's maybe too much intellectualism on things where there should not be, and there should be more on things where there aren't. That's all.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I do think though that this movie is really well put together.
Yeah,
really well
I mean,
out.
in the whole, it's a great movie. It really is a great movie.
And I think the ending shot does have meaning, I think.
Okay, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm agnostic about it. I mean, maybe it's just the hair being cut and then flying away, and then it just stays because it's just that kind of movie. So
could be, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about? You know what this movie really reminds me of that we've already seen, that we watched for the podcast? What is it? The Memory by Tarkovsky. Carlos's pick?
The Mirror.
The Mirror. Yeah, The Mirror.
Yeah.
It really reminds me of that because Carlos said that movie was like, it's like an autobiography of the director through film going through a midlife crisis. This movie has the same vibe that The Mirror had, and
I see what you're saying.
But like Secret Sunshine, like it's a lot more accessible because it's not because what happens isn't as abstract,
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, but I agree in a certain way. I agree that it's abstract in a little bit, and it has things that you don't really get the meanings to serve to you.
Okay. Okay. Wow, I think that's the biggest insult you've ever thrown.
No, I didn't mean
it has meanings that I don't get.
No, meanings that you don't get served to you. Like
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it wasn't to
I misheard you. Okay.
I was just kind of trying to find the right words. I wasn't saying that you don't get. I was saying
like the royal you.
Yes, exactly. The royal you. That it's not shown to you explicitly.
Yeah.
I mean, The Mirror was a lot for me. I'd like to rewatch it, but like it was. Yeah, this movie didn't feel like.
No. Secret Sunshine is not as obtuse as The Mirror is, but it's got like very similar vibes where it's these people going through these tough times.
Okay.
The Mirror really abstracts it though, whereas Secret Sunshine does not.
I also love that I don't really get a sense of the filmmaker too much through this film.
Yeah.
I love that about this film.
Yeah, whereas The Mirror is definitely fucking personal. And that's why Carlos loves it so much. So.
Which is there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
But, and again, I could see maybe where this filmmaker's view on religion comes through in this movie, and that's why he chose to make this movie.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, like a lot of the shots where people are praying, they're usually either wide shots, far shots, or both. I noticed that. When Shanae and Mr. Kim walk into the first prayer meeting for the Wayward Souls, and she starts railing, what we see when we the angles for inside of that, they're all wide and far away.
Yeah.
And like even when Shanae is in a prayer meeting, usually they'll start with a close up of her, but then we'll move to a wider shot. And I think that's more, I think that's showing the distance of God. That's how I see that as.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, I think the filmmaker is kind of making that kind of statement, which, Shanae, really says, when she starts doubting God again.
Yeah.
So
I saw someone, I don't know if it was the comments or what the actual written review of this, but it was like, she wages war on God, basically. Yeah. And she makes all these conscious decisions to sin, and not only sin, but sin in spite of God. It's very interesting.
Yeah, but what's great about this movie is like she doesn't go over the top with it. It's not like The West Wing when the secretary, that Mrs. Lanningham dies.
Okay.
She dies in a car accident. Okay. And then Martin Sheen, the president, he walks into a Catholic church while it's storming outside and there's lightning, and he starts saying the Lord's Prayer in like Latin, and he just says fuck you to God. It's not like that at all. It's very low key. Which is what makes it relatable. It makes it believable. It makes it more intense in that way.
It's also, it seems like something that actually a mentally unstable person could do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. This movie never goes over the top.
No, that's another reason I love this movie, because it's so grounded and real feeling.
Yeah. And real quick, so when Mr. Kim is with Shanae in like church stuff, he's like, he keeps like one pew's difference, but there's one, she's there, there's a pew there, and then he sits in the pew behind there, where he can, watch her and stuff. And then at the sing-along where you mentioned, there was at least one person between them. So he never, stood next to her, while going to church, but he was, still close enough.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And when he did try and get in the car with her, she kicks him out.
For the town hall. But then he shows up later.
Yep. He shows up later, even though she told him not to come.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, this is, he's also driving her brother, and her brother is in the back seat.
Yeah. But the flowers for her are in the passenger side. So maybe it was Mr. Kim who brought those flowers, and
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is that scene in the beginning, but June is between them.
Okay.
And that's like a part where you can't not sit side by side in a tow truck, because there's only those seats.
Yeah. That's true.
This movie is just great. I have a lot of notes. This is probably the most notes I've ever written.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Is it okay if I look at my notes real quick?
Sure.
Just some takeaways that I liked. After June's death, she's teaching piano, and there's a kid there, and she's like, "Did you practice?" And she has like a pen, and she's pretending to be like an interviewer, a reporter or something. And he's like, "Yes, I practiced." And she's like, "Are you sure? This is your last chance to tell the truth." And he's like, "Yes, I practice." And he triples and doubles down. And then it pans down to him playing, and like he isn't playing very well. He's playing very slowly, and he stops. Then we pan back up, and we just see her tears on her face, and it's just like beautiful and poignant, and like I say that word all the time. I'm sorry.
Well, sometimes it fits. I mean, it can fit often, especially in the movies we watch. So
true, but it's just beautiful because, humans, our brains work that way. We get triggered in ways that make us think of things for no reason, apparently, and for, suddenly and out of nowhere, it seems. And I just like that. I just thought that was a beautiful setup, beautifully done directing as well, the down and then up, and it's very simple but effective. What were you look like you have something to say.
I do, but it can wait.
Okay.
It's a little jokey.
Oh, this is something I wanted to talk about. I watched an interview of the director. I believe it was the director talking about this movie, or maybe there's another South Korean talking about this movie, and they're talking about how great, I'm going to look up his name again. I'm sorry, guys. How great Song Kang-Ho is. Because apparently through this whole movie, he's doing the equivalent of like a Southern country accent.
Oh, okay.
The difference in dialect is he's doing a sort of country bumpkin accent through this whole movie. And that's a great way of showing the difference in class, the difference in, you know, he's from a small town and she's from Seoul. And it just does a great, shows another difference in their characters.
Well, he even says that the dialect is very close to that of Busan. So he mentions the difference in dialects there. So
he does, yeah. I just think that's great. And, you know, the people were talking about how great Song Kang-Ho is. And he is a great actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Did you expect that to be the guy from Snowpiercer, the jailbreaker guy?
Well, no, I did not.
They don't look anything alike.
No, I thought it was a different Korean actor.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's why I checked to make sure. And then I was like, oh, he's in Snowpiercer. And you're like, damn it, you look.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like they just look so completely, like even just him having different hair and a mustache.
But you know,
really changes it.
But the thing is you know, both of them still smoke. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Both of them still smoke.
Sorry,
you're fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because that was some knowledge I got from other sources.
That's cool. That's great.
Oh, I like this part whenever she's like, whenever she's confronting him about him not actually having faith. She's like, swear to God that you have faith. Like right now, which is a crazy statement. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, swear, if you don't believe, it's like saying, swear to something that you don't believe in, that you believe in.
But she knows that he doesn't believe is the thing. So,
but he's still afraid. He still doesn't swear.
Yeah, but that's because, you know, she would know he's a hypocrite and he doesn't want to be a hypocrite in front of her is the thing. I think.
Interesting. You know? Well, I think it's an interesting philosophical type statement as far as like, it's like a contradictory statement.
Yeah.
If you don't believe.
Yeah. If you, say that you swear to God that you believe in God. And if you don't believe, well, you know that there will be no repercussions.
Exactly. So why wouldn't he just say
because she knows that he's full of shit. And he'll be even more full of shit if he, you know, attests to that.
Fair. Okay, true.
Yeah.
I just like that. It's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just looking through all my notes. Yeah. She's constantly looking up at the sky whenever she's doing those things to spite God. And she looks up through the window while the church guy is kissing her through the windshield.
Yeah.
Also, this is a great illustrating part, like a way of showing what is going on. But after June has died, she is on the couch and she has her eyes open, but she's snoring because she says that, you know, she's having a beer with her brother when June is still alive, and they're talking, and June is like snoring behind them on the couch.
But it's a fake snore.
And she says that June does that. He snores like that when he misses his father. And so that's a beautiful, you know, callback to she's snoring because she misses June.
Well, I didn't hear any snoring. I thought is that when she's playing the tape of June at class, saying what a great mother?
No, I don't think I think in that shot, her back was to
her back was to the camera. Yeah.
In this shot, her back was, her face
front
was to the camera.
Okay.
And she was just laying on the couch crying and just going.
I must have missed that shot somehow.
It wasn't like a big.
Okay.
Yeah. But at least I think that's what I saw.
Okay, that's cool. That's great.
Okay.
Another setup and payoff.
Yeah. And that's all I have pretty much. Before you go, a special thank you to our bestest friend of the show, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for supporting Your Movie, My Movie. Now, if any of you would like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/yourmoviemymoviepodcast, or leave us a review on whatever you're listening to us on. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.
So there's another movie that this movie reminds me of.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Proof of Life with Russell Crowe and Meg Ryan.
Okay.
Where Meg Ryan, she's the wife of a guy, and they're in like Colombia, and then her husband gets kidnapped by Colombian drug rebels.
Okay.
And so in Russell Crowe, he plays like an ex SAS officer who's part of this company that like negotiates for ransom demands.
Cool.
Yeah. It's totally Hollywood. And Russell Crowe and Meg Ryan, kind of have, they become a romantic interest, even though she has a husband. And Russell Crowe is the one who's supposed to save him.
It happens.
Yeah, and it's also got the guy from NCIS Miami.
Okay.
The redhead, who was also in NYPD Blue.
You act like I know. Like I'm going to shout his name out.
I don't know. David Caruso. David Caruso is his name. Okay. Yeah, he's a supporting player in that, but not bad. It's a nice movie. We might watch it. A different take on a kidnapping. A kidnapping plot.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Totally Hollywood, though. But it's not bad.
Hollywood is fun sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a fucking bummer like this movie is. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.